Okay, you guys see the road there? Those things on the road like that? Now the tire marks right here. Okay, you see those tire marks? Right out here. They come off the road right here. As I'm biking back from the other place where I showed you the riding lightning of the hydrogen atoms, I have to analyze that. So I would assume at main science that there you can create kind of a wave. You know, you guys try to create that warp bubble. It's kind of like a warp bubble, but if all the hydrogen atoms in the universe are spinning in the exact same way, there's not a wave there. So if the hydrogen atoms are alternately spinning, then you could create a wave that way. So the electron would it would be staggered off. So you'd have one electron at 1 degrees and the other electron at 180 degrees. And if all those electrons throughout the universe were staggered, you could create a wave, like a wave pattern throughout the entire universe using the hydrogen atoms. And that's what I'm going to show you, because basically it's like the entire universe is like a how do I put this, like I don't know, like a surf wave. You know, the spaceship could ride that wave of electromagnetic energy simply by the grandmother and grandfather controlling the electron and letting it the way it rotates. So by staggering the rotation of the electron, you could in theory create a wave that the spaceship could ride upon. That's what I forgot to mention. It's not the spaceship that moves the thing. It's the spirits. So the atoms, the hydrogen atoms, those are spirits. The electricity is spirits. The nuclear fusion reactor is a spirit. So when you want to go somewhere, you just basically type in the planet's location, and the spirits, which are the hydrogen molecules, and the black holes in the nuclear fusion reactor, all that electromagnetism, it drives that spaceship to whatever planet we put in there. So in this case, if we wanted to go, if we wanted to theoretically go wage war against 1,408 evil planets in the Milky Way, we could do that by letting the spirits drive the spaceship there. The humans are not the pilot. The spirits are. So here's my preliminary design here. This is what you'll read about in the book, but I gotta draw another one. So this is a spaceship that has 11 fusion reactors. You see them there. There's one in the middle, then they got 8 around it, that's 9. And then there's one on the top, 10 and 11. So this is my first design that I drew. So this has rail guns here. So you notice here, that's an engine, that's a rail gun. That's water to power these engines, like the, how to put it, they draw out the hydrogen and they turn it back into fuel. So there's hydrogen, oxygen, water. So they draw it from there. So then it turns into a rocket thrust, which is ionized through ionizer, and then it's superheated through a laser. And then it's plasma, because it's like a plasma drive. So this engine, you can use it through plasma. So there's 4 thrusts to it to create, there's four pieces of thrust to it. So this was my original design. This one, it could probably still exist, because this thing that rotates in here, it can rotate when it's in space to create a little bit more electricity, like magnetism. When you're using these magnets inside there, so these are magnets, so it levitates the inside. this part here would rotate. Like if we're in space, it would rotate to provide artificial gravity. If we were flying like a longer mission, without using, let's say, without using the hydrogen to power the warp drive. If we weren't using that, this thing could fly to Mars probably, oh, I don't know, probably a couple months or less, maybe a couple weeks. So when you're flying there, let's say from Earth to Mars, you would use this. This thing would rotate inside like that, and you could live on the outside. So there'd be living quarters there. There'd be food here, and then when it stops, like when it got to Mars and it sat on its gravity, you would sit on the inside. So there's a bed there on the inside. There's food there on the inside. So it's very much like those wheels that you see in science fiction. Same principle. You can walk around the outside like that, or here in the middle when it's parked. So these are coming into this universe, and they got these engines and they got these railguns. There's 3 different size engines or 3 different size railguns. It's a 4.5-inch railgun, 3.5, and a 2-inch. This 2-inch, it's a Gatling gun. This one is it's a scale down from a Gatling gun. This one fires quite a few rounds. Like it's I don't know, maybe 40 rounds a minute maybe. And this one here is a bit bigger. This one fires probably about 20 rounds a minute. So these are designed to destroy evil civilizations throughout the Milky Way. So there's like battery pack on the top, outer shell, inner core. So this entire shell, the outer shell of this thing, it's like a magnet. We use magnetism, so we incorporate magnets into it so that it becomes a giant superconducting magnet. We use the coldness of space to turn it into a superconducting magnet. So these things here, when they come to a planet, they don't have to. They could sit above the magnetosphere because the magnetosphere is a magnet, right? So it would sit above the magnetosphere. Let's use this one here, I guess. Okay, here's these other ones here. I'll hold my nose. So, what they're going to do, the good guys in the universe above us, they have a moon there called Charon, and we have a moon here called Charon from Pluto. It's connected to Pluto. They built a giant nuclear fusion reactor around it. So when they turn that nuclear fusion reactor on, it's going to crush the black hole that's inside the core and reverse it into a white hole on our side. It'll become a black hole on their side and a white hole on our side. And they're going to ride the wave of a magnetism in from that universe into ours. Typically when a solar system is created, the materials like the asteroids, the comets, the fungi spores, the gases, they ride a wave of magnetism. So they would ride that green wave, not the orange one. The orange one's for spaceships. So by creating a giant magnet, superconducting magnet, they can come from a parallel universe. So this over here is like their universe. When they turn on that nuclear fusion reactor at Charon, it'll come over to our universe, and then that's Pluto there. So the spaceships will stop when they hit Pluto, because the Pluto's like a brake. This will be the white hole. So you don't want to go through there. You want to stop. It'll stop when we hit Pluto. So once we get to Pluto, we use these engines here, because normally when you travel through space, you can go back and forth along that wave of gravity. But since this is a one-way trip from Pluto, we can't ride that wave from Pluto back to the sun and then back to Earth. So we have to fly over to Neptune, like that. So once these spaceships come in from a parallel universe, this is bouncing. This is our universe. This is galaxy to galaxy. They bounce back and forth, galaxy to galaxy. This is the Milky Way. These are stars. This is like whatever star star. It bounces from star to star until it reaches our star. And then it goes to Pluto, where it stops. Then it flies over to Neptune, but that's the moon Charon. It becomes a white hole. They fly over to Neptune, they get on the wave of gravity, and then they can fly back to the Earth here. And once they're on Earth, right here, they can sit that ship on that wave of gravity, or they can fly off the gravity using these engines. This is no gravity. So if they fly off of this magnetosphere here, there's no gravity there. So that's when they would turn this on, then it could have gravity. So you want to think of the magnetosphere as like a giant magnet, because there is a magnet in there. So this thing is like a superconducting magnet. So it can sit on there or it can sit out here. So that's how we're going to get those spaceships in here. Now, as for that other thing where it said this thing here, because it has these 11 reactors, you know, when I talked about that stick over there in the apples, so because there's 9 here, there's one on top, one on the bottom, that's 11 reactors. So the theory that I just proposed to you is this electricity here, science, it's equivalent to whatever the electricity of an atom of hydrogen is. And because it's so small, we can't detect it, we don't know what that electricity is. But our scientists above in the good universe, they know what that electricity is. That's why they built this reactor with 11 reactors. Whatever that is, when you crank these things up to maximum, that's the electrical output of a hydrogen atom. So when you can match that hydrogen atom, electrical wise, you can ride anywhere in the universe using the hydrogen atoms, electricity. But first you have to match that electricity at the quantum subatomic level. So if you were to actually look at, put a electrical meter onto a hydrogen atom, you wouldn't get that much voltage. But if you shrunk yourself down and looked at the atom from a different scale and looked at how big it is, and then measured that electricity, you would get a lot more electricity. Because we're big, measuring something small, it's insignificant. But when you're small, measuring something big, it's significant. So that's where I use this one here to help try to explain it a little bit better. So these are a representation of hydrogen atoms. So that's the Earth proton, that's the fire electron. So all those things are spinning around in the universe. So when your mind instantly thinks of that big spaceship, because of the size of the atoms, you would think that it's really big like that. It isn't science. You need to start thinking in terms of quantum subatomic particle physics. And because the atom is the largest of all particles, that spaceship would be more like that compared to the atom. So when you're riding it, there's a quantum entanglement with the size of the atom and the size of the spaceship. You need to think of that spaceship as being small and the atoms of the universe being big. Basically, we're riding the electricity of the universe at the quantum scale matching that reactor's engine here. So when you have all this electricity here, science, it matches that little dot there. So that little dot can then ride the wave of electricity of the atoms at the quantum scale. Like I said, if you were to measure that now, it'd probably be less than a volt. But if you were to shrink down, look up at the atom and remeasure it with something, it would be, the equivalent of, 11 bolts of lightning, right? So if you think of these reactors as 11 bolts of lightning, that's how much electricity is produced at the quantum scale in these atoms, 11 bolts of electricity. So we're basically riding the 11 bolts worth of electricity of these atoms like that. Now, those wavy lines on the road I showed you, it's a representation of this. So, there. So, if this is the, if that's the electron, and that's the electron, and that's the electron, there's some kind of electricity in between those two throughout the entire universe. So, it's like a wave. And there would be another one over here, okay? That's to help your mind formulate the theories that you need to formulate. So, it's like there'd be another one here. So these atoms they're offset. This one here, they're all the same. You notice how there's one here, one there, one there, one there, one there. That's my original theory here. But when I went for the bike ride, I seen those tire tracks. They're going like that. So I think the spirits are saying that that's how they ride it. It's almost like a wave. There's like a wave here of extra magnetism because of this electron entangled with that one, and the magnetism between there of those hydrogen atoms. That's what they're riding. They're basically that big spaceship that's so huge, and these things are 12 miles wide. They're bigger than a regular spaceship, so the mass is bigger than what they're used to. But our guys are flying. They have 8-mile wide spaceships. These are 12 miles wide. So, or 13. I bet they're 13 miles wide. So that thing there, it's riding the universe's electricity at the quantum scale. Okay? Hopefully I explain that in really easy terminology. So again, this big spaceship, it's riding through space. Space is electricity at the quantum level class. All the hydrogen atoms there, it's producing maybe 1 volt of electricity, but because these reactors are equivalent to 11 lightning bolts, if you were to shrink down and look up at to that size, then the electricity produced by a larger atom at the quantum scale is equivalent to 11 volts of electricity. So we're matching the electricity at the larger scale to the nanoscale. This electricity is the same as that electricity, which means we can fly anywhere in the universe using electricity. And because these are spirits, these spirits will fly that spaceship to anywhere we want to go, simply by telling that spaceship where we want to go. Where we want to go? Oh, we want to go to the other side of the universe. It takes 8 minutes, 8 minutes to get there. This is the new technology that we've been waiting to reveal to mankind and my evil children across the Milky Way, to determine whether or not they believe me. I don't know. If you guys want to fight, I know this technology exists. The reason I created it is so mankind can live out their fantasies of flying through space, just like Star Trek, just like Star Wars. They're so used to that technology. I had to create it for them, and this is how I did it, science. And if you evil guys in the Milky Way want to tangle with me, and if you don't believe me, well, that's your prerogative. If I don't get my UFOs here on my mother's birthday, these UFOs are coming. So watch out, Milky Way.